there are those who have talked, Mrs. Bayo has talked about this incredible show of force and the fact that we are still at this base level where you have so much security monitoring our elections, which you don't see elsewhere. It's abnormal. Now, as it presently stands, there's no doubt about the fact that for 2019, we are going to witness a massive deployment of security, if for no other reason, because of present security challenges that had nothing to do with the election.
And past challenges.
Those are the ones that are there. So I'm wondering to ask now from you, if that is a good way to do it, one. Two, if it isn't, and I'm not talking of utopia now, I'm talking about realistically, if it's not a good way, then how do we go about doing it, knowing fully well our experiences from past elections?
So yes. How else can security be kept?
Okay, number one, we're going to look at the threat. The threat that we used to have is snatching of ballot boxes, people running away with ballot boxes. So they decided that, okay, fine. What we're going to do is to deploy policemen, you know, to counter these people, because some of them carry guns when they come to do that. So we have seen over the years that that has really gone down. The threat we are having for elections right now, the major threats we are having is vote buying, you know, and sometimes buying of PVCs. In fact, a couple of days ago, there was a very good intelligence work that happened in Port Harcourt, where the SSS, from information they had, have to clamp down on some people with about 13,000 PVCs. You know, now, these people are going to use this to, you know, affect the election. And these are the things, you know, so deploying a whole bunch of military people, policemen, you know, I can tell you one thing. One of the most protected airports in the world is Dubai Airport, Dubai International. But you will not see a single security man with a gun. But
how are they doing it?
But the guns are there. Because they are strategically located and they know when to respond, and they're actually looking at everybody. So they know, in fact, before it happens, they preempt you by coming out. The lesser visible security we have, the better security that we will have.
Okay, let me just take a question for somebody who is worried about visible security and invisible security and tension. Ikechukwu Agada, he's a journalist, and he's talking about dealing with the perception of the tension around vote buying and people who they suspect are buying and selling votes. Perhaps they just, you know, oh, are you off transportation? And they just nab you for vote buying. So, you know, he wants to know.
Okay, my name's Ikechukwu Agada. I want to know this perception that is going on. Many people believe that vote buying is so common now, and most of the government policies like Empower, trade and money, most of those things are vote buying in disguise. And presently, the atmosphere is tensed up. There is these allegations of arming, militias, and all those things trying to create problems. So how do we curb and manage all these things?
And the second one I'm going to take is from Olufemi Ajade. He's not talking about vote buying, but he's talking about what to do to candidates who do not keep their promises. I don't know what he means by that, but, you know, how do you hold the candidates accountable if they've won afterwards, even though that's not to do with security, but still part of election preparations?
My name is Olufemi Ajade, student of Institute of Journalism. My question is, if we vote them in, how can they be held responsible for their promises when we vote them in?
Yeah, who should we start with now?
Mrs. Bayo, I think you should address the first question, which is the link between the tension of vote buying and security around the voting area. Because, of course, if the security is airtight, it shouldn't be possible to buy votes within that vicinity, should it?
Well, it should not be possible to buy votes within that vicinity, but then, of course, people find their way around vote buying. The bigger question is why vote buying has become an option or has grown in the number of people who buy votes. I would say that, first, that it begins to show, on a positive side, that the politicians are realizing that your votes count. And so they try to buy it. The question is, would you sell it? We need to look at the factors that contribute to vote buy-in and then be able to block those channels. But then if security in its proper sense is at work, and not just the security architecture, like we like to say for structural security in Nigeria, is at work, then vote buying will not be an option. And by that, I mean social security.
Now, the other question, of course, having to do with how can you make politicians keep to their promises? I don't know if that's
$1 million.
We don't have any politician on the panel today.
I'd like to answer that.
Yes, if you can, please go on.
Please.
Now, it becomes very important that you as a citizen get registered. When you register with INEC, it's not just about every 4 years. You can call back your representatives if we get enough of you to also sign in to say we want you back. You're not performing. Every Nigerian citizen must realize that the most important office is not the office of the president, the governor, the local government chairman, the senator. It is the office of the citizen. The greatest failure in governance in Nigeria is not of the politicians, is that we have abdicated the office of the citizens, and we must take back our seat and perform our governance duty of holding them accountable. So it's not just civil society. We are all civil society. We all can organize ourselves around holding politicians accountable for the promises they make. That is, if we listen at all to the promises that they're making. So yes, your registration is beyond the vote in this elections, would also determine if we're able to call people back. So if you want to be part of that process, get registered, and INEC will tell you about that.
All right, we realize that we cannot talk about
what she has said.
Yes, okay. And before you add to, before you add to what she has said, apologies. Before you add to what she said, also just wrap up, and tell us what you're hoping to expect, because by this time next week, it will be the eve of the elections. So with this, your comment, just wrap up briefly and tell us what to expect in terms of, security as we move into the elections. Quickly.
And let me be the bad cop. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Let me say, in addition to what she has said, we have various community development organizations across the country. These are forums for holding politicians to account. So when they come home, maybe during Easter break or during quarterly visit, show them to account to what they promised to do. Let them know that you are not happy, or that you can trigger a recall process, or that they will suffer consequences in the next election. There are things that we can do. We seem to be abdicating our responsibility as electorates. We need to do that. But in terms of my expectation, we're looking forward to a very pleasant voting experience. We've taken a lot of issues into consideration. I will continue to show responsiveness even at these dying hours towards the election. So we expect that there will be massive turnout, because we're seeing that there's a lot of people picking up their PVC, and we're extending the period. So I think it's going to be good. We have a better so-called security architecture, to use that phrase also.
You have your 1 minute is up. Your 1 minute is up, Mr. Lekki.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go to retired DIG Azuma. Your final comment. 30 seconds.
Or less.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I want to also inform Nigerians that the IG is not sleeping. He is working day and night to make sure that the forthcoming elections are very, very peaceful indeed. Some of the strategies he has put on ground include, before the elections commences, there are going to be raids. Black spots are going to be uncompleted building. All these areas are going to be raided, so that any criminals, anything that is hidden there will be uncovered, and the perpetrators are arrested.
30 seconds up. 30 seconds up, DIG.
It's good to know the IG is not sleeping.
It's good to know that the IG is not sleeping, and that. So when we see some people being paraded from uncompleted buildings and so on, we shouldn't be surprised.
Mr. Makri, are you sleeping?
Final word.
I don't think so. I think there are very, very important aspects of this election that we have to look at. And that connects INEC. INEC, just like the INEC official said there, this whole idea of electoral materials coming very late. It's a big problem. And when electoral materials are not delivered in time, people start to read meanings into them.
Agitation.
And they say, okay, people want to agitate. Or they want to beat up the INEC people when they come very late. You know, so these are important things they have to do. Release those things timely. Let them arrive at the right time so that people don't get all these problems.
All right, so that's where we're going to have to. We've used up all the entire grace period. Well, nobody should get beaten up. Nobody should fall asleep during the process. No. And everybody should manage to do one thing or the other. I want to thank our guests.
Endure, as they say.
Okay, or endure. I mean, in some areas, you'll have to endure. Although there are 57 new polling areas, 57,000 new polling areas in order to make it possible for even more people to vote faster. That's just something for you to take away. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. Our guests, of course, Mr. Dennis Amakri here in Lagos, DIG retired Dan Azuma in Abuja, Mrs. Baiwo Abiodun also in Abuja, and of course, Mr. Mohammed Lekki, INEC National Commissioner. Thank you all for being there. Our guests, of course, in the studio here, our studio audience, thank you so much. And
thank you to me, your co-pilot.
Yes, thank you to my co-pilot.
Exactly.
And from all of us here,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
And good night.